I'm gonna do something I've never done before. Be completely open and honest about this. What do you do when your mind turns against you? It is something that no one could ever be prepared for. For me, it happened so that I barely noticed I had lost control of my life. I had always been a confident, secure kid, the kind of kid who wasn't afraid to speak up, share his opinions, the kind of kid who knew that he was loved and that he mattered. But there came a time when that changed rather abruptly. When I was 13, I began having thoughts about my body, thoughts that made me feel inadequate, insecure. Many other kids, I assume, felt the same way around the same age, but I felt inherently flawed in some way. I became increasingly unhappy with my weight and began to focus on that. I did everything I could to restrict the amounts and kinds of food that I ate. After a while, I did indeed lose some weight, and because I had been overweight, people congratulated me, but that was not enough. I still felt wrong. It was as if there was a small whispering voice in the corner of my mind that began to stretch out across my whole identity. I lied to my parents about feeling hungry and eating. I starved myself every day. The days became exhausting. I began to look forward to the nights when I could simply go to bed and my mind would be quiet. I began to faint. Occasionally, I would stand up after lying down for too long, only to fall unconscious. My parents, at a total loss of what to think of what their son had become, took me to the family doctor, and that is when I first heard the words eating disorder being applied to me. I was diagnosed with anorexia nervosa. After that, I spent some time with a therapist I immediately resented, and even after a few sessions with him, I reached my lowest weight. At 117 pounds, my 6'2" body could barely support the physical stress it took just to make it through a day. And the voice in my head continued to push back and remind me that I was useless and unloved. But wait, when did I start thinking that? Since when did I truly believe that? The voice grew and took on new forms. I was constantly depressed. I was unable to feel happy. I felt truly worthless. My life had become nothing. Each day was nothing, and any interaction with any people just made me feel more empty inside. My life had become a disaster. I couldn't feel anything anymore. And in the few moments of clarity, I would wonder, how had my life come to this? And in those moments of clarity, I would cry. Harder than I ever had before, because I knew I could not live like this for much longer. And who would want to? Each day had become a new reason to hate my parents, to avoid those who would try to help me, to long for the night to fall. When I transferred to a new high school, I did not make friends well. It was then that I felt truly rejected by everyone that I knew. The others at school looked at me like I was some strange creature. People either avoided me or worse, pitied me. And the voice only grew stronger. The voice had taken over my life, and the noise was becoming unbearable. There was nothing I could do to have a moment of peace. I began to think that it would be easier if my life was over. I would daydream about taking my own life and finally having that peace that I longed for. Everything that I was had been carved out, and nothing but rage, hatred, and bitterness remained. I felt alone, unloved, and I was worthless. I had no reason to be alive. I just wanted the noise to stop. So, what happened? To this day, all I can say is that it was a true miracle of God. My parents, left with no other choice, sent me to a rehab center for a month, where I was under constant surveillance. When I was finally released, I continued to see a therapist for the next several months. My life had begun to turn around. The recovery was slow, and it wasn't always a straight line, but I began to feel again. It's been 4 years since I last saw a therapist, and I am so thankful for the life I now lead. I knocked on death's door once, hoping for refuge, but I quickly turned back. Death's abode is no shelter from any pain. Today, I have friends who actually care about me. My family is happy and proud of me. I am working to get a degree in a field where I can help people. I am loved. And this isn't to say that life is perfect. When you have a struggle like mine, it isn't something that just goes away. I know that it will always be a struggle, and some days are better than others. But I have ways now of coping with the noise, with dealing with the thoughts of self-hatred. And I've learned to mute that voice that plays involuntarily inside my brain. I now know that life is a gift, every day precious. And if I could just say one thing to anyone who will listen, it would be this. You are loved. You are loved and you are worthy to be loved. I am someone's beloved. Because life is about the love we share.